The green room at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion had mirrors that ran the length of one wall and furniture that was meant to look expensive but mostly looked uncomfortable. And at 7:42 p.m. on a Sunday in April 1971, Frank Sinatra stood near the makeup table wearing a tuxedo that fit perfectly and an expression that suggested he'd rather be anywhere else, while three people explained why he needed to read exactly what was written on the cue cards and not deviate from the script they'd spent 6 weeks perfecting. The room smelled like hairspray and the nervous sweat of people who were responsible for a live television broadcast being watched by 60 million people. And the light from the makeup mirror made everyone's face look harsh and overlit, like they were all being interrogated about crimes they hadn't committed yet. Arthur Freeman stood closest to Sinatra, 59 years old, executive producer of the American Film Institute's tribute special, a man who'd produced the Academy Awards 3 times and understood that live television was controlled chaos, where the only things that mattered were timing and sticking to the script. Next to him stood Diane Rothman, AFI's director of special events, 43 years old, clipboard thick with schedules and contingency, a woman who'd organized tributes to John Ford and James Stewart without incident and didn't understand why Frank Sinatra was going to be different. By the door stood Marcus Webb, the show's director, 37 years old, headset already on even though they didn't go live for another 43 minutes, watching this conversation and calculating how much time he had to solve this problem before it became a disaster. The tribute was honoring Sinatra's 55 years in entertainment, his contributions to film and music and American culture, and the format was simple. Celebrities would come on stage, read prepared remarks about Sinatra's impact. Sinatra would accept the tribute with a brief speech that had been written by AFI's speechwriting team and vetted by the network and approved by the sponsor, and timed to exactly 3 minutes and 47 seconds, and then he'd walk off to a standing ovation while the orchestra played My Way, and America felt good about honoring one of its legends. Except Sinatra had just read the speech, typed on cream-colored paper double-spaced, with pauses marked and emphasis indicated and emotional moments highlighted in yellow, and had set it down on the makeup counter without saying anything. Freeman picked up the speech, held it out to Sinatra. "Frank, this is what we need you to say, word for word. We've timed it, tested it with focus groups, cleared it with standards and practices. It's exactly 3 minutes 47 seconds. If you go over, we cut into the commercial break. If you go under, we have dead air. So we need you to stick to this." Sinatra looked at the speech like it was a menu at a restaurant he didn't want to eat at. "I don't do prepared speeches. This isn't prepared, it's structured. There's a difference." "What's the difference?" "Prepared means someone else's word. Structured means your sentiments organized for maximum impact. It's still someone else's words." Rothman stepped forward. "Frank, every word in that speech reflects something you've actually said. In interviews, in press conferences, in casual conversation. We've compiled your own thoughts and arranged them in a coherent narrative. It's authentic. If it's my thoughts, why do I need someone else to write them down? Because you need to say them in 3 minutes and 47 seconds, not 3 minutes, not 4 minutes. 3:47, that's the only way the show works. Then the show doesn't work." Freeman set the speech back down. "Frank, 60 million people are watching tonight. 60 million. That's more viewers than the Super Bowl. That's more than the moon landing. This is the biggest television audience of the year, and they're tuning in to honor you. The least you can do is read a 3-minute speech. I didn't ask to be honored. The AFI asked to honor you. You agreed. We've sold advertising based on your participation. We've booked the theater. We've invited guests. We've spent 6 months organizing this tribute. And now, 43 minutes before we go live, you're telling me you won't read the speech. I'm telling you I'll say what I want to say, not what you want me to say. What you want to say might not fit the time slot. Then adjust the time slot." Webb, the director, spoke for the first time, his voice coming through slightly electronic because of the headset. "Frank, we can't adjust the time slot. We're live network television. We have commercial breaks scheduled down to the second. We have station identification. We have network promos. Everything is locked. If you go long, we cut you off mid-sentence. If you go short, 60 million people watch an empty stage. Neither option is acceptable." Sinatra walked to the mirror, adjusted his bow tie even though it didn't need adjusting. "Then I won't accept the tribute." The room went silent. Freeman and Rothman looked at each other. Webb touched his headset like he was checking if it still worked. Frank, Freeman said carefully, you can't not accept the tribute. You're the tribute. You're why we're here. You're why 60 million people are watching. You can't just walk away. I can if you're going to script what I say. We're not scripting you, we're providing structure. You're telling me what to say, when to pause, where to show emotion. That's scripting. Rothman pulled out another document. Frank, look at this. These are the people who have agreed to speak tonight. Gregory Peck, Cary Grant, Gene Kelly, Lauren Bacall, Ella Fitzgerald. Every one of them is reading prepared remarks. Every one of them is following the script. That's how these tributes work. That's how television works. That's how they work, not how I work. But you're on television, so you have to work the way television works. No, I don't. Freeman rubbed his face with both hands. Frank, help me understand this. What exactly is your objection? Is it the content, because we can change the content? Is it the length, because we can adjust within reason? Is it the tone, the structure? Tell me what you want and we'll try to accommodate it. I want to say what I feel in the moment I feel it, without a script, without time limits, without someone telling me when to pause for effect. That's not television, that's chaos. That's honesty. Honest doesn't work on live television. Controlled works. Predictable works. Spontaneous is how disasters happen. Sinatra turned from the mirror, then have a disaster. I'd rather have an honest disaster than a dishonest success. Webb stepped closer, careful not to spook anyone. Mr. Sinatra, let me offer a compromise. But if we use the speech as a guideline, you glance at it, hit the major points, but use your own phrasing. We'll have the cue cards as backup, but you don't have to read them word for word. You can paraphrase, improvise, just keep it around 4 minutes. And if I go over, we'll cut the commercial short. It'll cost us money with the network, but we'll manage. And if I go under, we'll figure it out. Maybe the orchestra extends the exit music. Maybe I hold on a wide shot. Point is, we'll make it work, but we need you to participate. We need you to go out there and accept this honor that people want to give you. Sinatra looked at him. You said it'll cost you money if I go over. Yes. How much? Probably 50,000, maybe more. The network charges by the second for commercial time we don't deliver. And if I walk out of here right now, if I don't do the tribute at all, Freeman answered that one. If you walk, we have no show. We go live in 40 minutes with a tribute to Frank Sinatra that doesn't include Frank Sinatra. The network will sue us. The sponsors will sue us. The AFI will be humiliated. My career will be over. Diane's career will be over. And you'll be known as the man who destroyed the biggest tribute in television history because you wouldn't read a 3-minute speech. 4 minutes, Webb corrected quietly. 3:47, Rothman said, checking her clipboard. Sinatra walked to the small couch against the wall, sat down, looked at the 3 people who were waiting for him to make a decision that would affect dozens of careers and millions of dollars and 60 million viewers who tuned in expecting to see something that might not happen. Let me ask you something, Sinatra said. Why do you think people are watching tonight? Freeman answered, because you're Frank Sinatra, because you're a legend, because they want to see you honored. Wrong. They're watching because they think they're going to see something real, something true. A genuine moment where Frank Sinatra accepts recognition for his work. If I read your speech, if I hit my marks and pause on cue and deliver emotion where you've highlighted it in yellow, they'll know it's fake. They might not consciously know it, but they'll feel it. And that feeling, that sense that they're watching something manufactured, that's what'll ruin your tribute. Not me going long or short, not me saying the wrong thing, but me saying something that doesn't feel true. Rothman sat down on the chair across from him. Frank, with respect, the audience doesn't know what's scripted and what's not. They're watching at home. They're eating dinner. They're distracted. As long as you sound sincere, as long as you hit the emotional beats, they'll be satisfied. You think I've spent 55 years performing and I don't know when I sound sincere and when I sound like I'm reading someone else's words. I think you're a professional who can deliver a performance that feels authentic even when it's scripted. And I think you don't understand the difference between performing a song and performing sincerity. One works, the other doesn't. Freeman checked his watch. Frank, we have 37 minutes. 37 minutes until we go live. I need an answer. Are you doing this tribute or not? I'm doing it, but I'm doing it my way, which means I'll walk out there, I'll accept the honor, I'll say what I want to say for however long I want to say it, and you'll deal with whatever happened. That's not acceptable. Then cancel the tribute. We can't cancel. We're live in 37 minutes. Then accept my terms. Webb took off his headset, held it in his hands like he was considering throwing it. Mr. Sinatra, do you understand what you're asking? You're asking me to go into a live broadcast with no idea what you're going to say or how long you're going to say it. That's not just unprofessional, that's reckless. It's honest. Honest is a luxury we can't afford on live television. Then you can't afford me. The three of them stood there, Freeman with his script, Rothman with her clipboard, Webb with his headset, looking at Frank Sinatra sitting on a couch in a green room 37 minutes before the biggest tribute in television history, and trying to decide if he was bluffing or if he really would walk away from 60 million viewers because they wanted him to read 3 minutes and 47 seconds of prepared remarks. Freeman made the decision. Fine, do it your way. Say whatever you want. Take as long as you need. We'll adjust. We'll cut commercials. We'll trim other segments. We'll make it work. But Frank, I need you to promise me one thing. What? That whatever you say out there will be worthy of this moment, that you won't use this opportunity to be difficult or make a point about creative freedom or prove that Frank Sinatra doesn't follow anyone's rules, that you'll actually honor the people who are honoring you. Sinatra stood up. I don't make promises about what I'm going to feel when I walk on stage, but I can promise you this. Whatever I say will be true, and truth is worth more than your script. We'll see, Freeman said. He walked out. Rothman followed. Webb put his headset back on and headed toward the control room. Sinatra was alone in the green room with 34 minutes until he had to walk on stage and accept a tribute he hadn't asked for, using words he hadn't written and emotional beats he hadn't rehearsed. The speech sat on the makeup counter, 3 minutes and 47 seconds of careful prose with pauses marked and emphasis indicated and emotional moments highlighted in yellow. Sinatra picked it up. Read it one more time. It was good, professional, well-written, everything a tribute speech should be, and completely wrong for him. He set it down, looked at himself in the mirror, 55 years in entertainment, 61 years old, face lined with all the nights he'd performed and all the fights he'd won and lost, and all the decisions he'd made about what he would and wouldn't do for money or fame or convenience. And he decided again, the same way he'd decided 100 times before. He'd rather be honest and risk disaster than be dishonest and guarantee success. At 8:26 p.m., Frank Sinatra walked onto the stage of the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion to a standing ovation. 60 million people watched him from their living room. Gregory Peck had spoken. Cary Grant had spoken. Ella Fitzgerald had sung. And now it was Sinatra's turn to accept the tribute with 3 minutes and 47 seconds of prepared remarks. He stood at the microphone, looked at the cue cards, looked away from them, looked at the audience. And he spoke. Not from the script, not from memory, just from whatever he felt in that moment. He talked for 6 minutes and 13 seconds. He thanked people the script hadn't mentioned. He told stories that hadn't been vetted. He paused when he felt like pausing and pushed forward when he felt like pushing. He was completely, utterly, dangerously himself. In the control room, Arthur Freeman watched the clock tick past 3 minutes 47 seconds, past 4 minutes, past 5 minutes. Watched his entire carefully planned tribute fall apart in real time. And then he watched something else happen. He watched 60 million people stop eating dinner, stop being distracted, stop treating this like background entertainment. He watched them pay attention. Because what they were seeing wasn't a scripted tribute. It was Frank Sinatra being Frank Sinatra. Honest, unpredictable, real. The commercial break got cut by 90 seconds. The network lost $140,000 in advertising revenue. The tribute ran 7 minutes over, and it became the most watched, most talked about, most remembered awards show moment of the decade. Because Frank Sinatra understood something that producers and directors and network executives never understand. The audience can tell the difference between performing and pretending, between speaking from the heart and reading from a card, between truth and script. And given the choice between a perfect lie and an imperfect truth, they'll choose truth every time. Arthur Freeman produced television for another 16 years. He won 4 Emmys. He made networks millions of dollars. But he never forgot the green room at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, and he never again tried to script Frank Sinatra. I learned more from that 6-minute speech than I learned in 30 years of producing, he said in 1989. I learned that sometimes the best thing you can do as a producer is get out of the way and let truth happen, even if it costs $140,000. Diane Rothman organized hundreds more tributes and benefits and awards shows, but she always remembered the moment Sinatra set down the speech and refused to read it. I thought he was being difficult, she said. Turns out he was being right. The scripted version would have been forgotten in a week. The real version is still being talked about 20 years later. Marcus Webb directed live television until 2001. He never again went into a broadcast knowing exactly what was going to happen. After Sinatra, I realized that the best moments on live TV are the unscripted ones. The mistakes, the surprises, the times when someone refuses to do what you planned and does something better instead. The green room at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion is still there. Same mirrors, same uncomfortable furniture, same makeup lights that make everyone look like they're being interrogated. Different performers wait there now, different tributes, different speeches being rehearsed. But the essential question remains the same. Do you say what they wrote for you, or do you say what you actually mean? Most performers read the script. It's safer, easier, more professional. A few don't. A few decide that some moments matter too much to fake, that some honors deserve honest responses, that some audiences deserve truth instead of performance. Frank Sinatra was one of those few, and 60 million people watched him prove that truth, even expensive, imperfect 6-minute truth, is worth more than any 3-minute and 47-second lie. Would you have read the speech? Would you have taken the safe option, delivered exactly what they wanted, hit your marks and your emotional beats and your carefully timed pauses? Or would you have set it down at 7:42 p.m. in a green room and told 3 terrified producers that you'd say what you meant when you meant it, knowing it might cost them $140,000 and 7 minutes of unplanned television, knowing the smart move was to cooperate and the honest move was to risk everything?